into something about cool. So we're recording. Everyone look your best now. We're recording. So I want to get into something that I love about my culture, and I have a funny story about it afterwards. So here we go. It's as if she could walk on air. Her voice alone would make people move, smile, and laugh, even those who don't understand a single word she's saying. She puts the river in my torso and waterfalls in my eyes, running vibrations through my arteries, pumped out of my chakras, calling on all my primal and spiritual instincts. She is sequacious. She is possessive. She is salsa. I began to study her language on my own. Over the course of burnt books and charcoal artistry, I found remnants of the childhood of her grandparents. Gramps in his Bantu dialect was learning how to harness these drums called a makuta, a yuka, and bembe. Grandma was charming la clave and teaching wires how to manipulate sound. They had met during the slave trade that took the people from Africa over to Hispaniola and took the indigenous population of present-day Latin America over to the Congo. They found rhythm in the oceans. Abuelito's percussions would ward off evil spirits, and Abuelita's melody would string along good luck and peace. The courting period lasted for centuries. In the late 1800s, Spanish colonial rule over the island we now know as Cuba banned all African instruments. Thus, the ngoma drum had to be remade, remixed, refurnished, and today we call that drum the conga. Its name paying homage to the homeland of its forefathers. Half a century later, crony capitalists fell victim to its seduction. Now, the music never assimilated, but it got its American roots during the Prohibition era. Rich United States citizens would fly down to the Caribbean so that they could legally drink, and the bars would showcase our culture's art. The Yankee felt threatened, seduced, had to have it. A few official and unofficial wars later, a few official and unofficial occupations later, and these same palms that have been keeping my people in rhythm and tune was brought to New York City to shine its streets, paved with gold. Most fight fire with fire. We have always battled the enemy with love. This music was our Jackie Robinson, breaking segregated barriers before there was Don Omar or Mark Anthony or Rico Suave. There was Tito Puente, Miguelito Valdez, Tito Rodriguez, and the rapid tides of racism started to shift, and the whites-only Palladium opened its doors to the cha-cha, the Argentine tango, the Cuba, rumba, the Congo, and mambo, which all began to blend and created salsa. Y canto la vida de risas y penas, de momentos malos y de cosas buenas. It defined mi corazón, la arma, mi humor of who I am. I am a bard on the dance floor, leading the revolution with every turn that I make. And I invite all of you to share with me just one of the many great flavors of my culture, salsa. So that's my poem. Thank you, Bruja. That's my poem, Salsero. And so the funny thing is about it, the story I wanted to say is that in the 7th grade, the prettiest girl in the school asked me to dance at like a school dance function. And I did not know how to dance salsa. And it was from that point on that I decided I was going to learn. Now I can cut up a rug and whatnot. But it was when I got older that I started to get into the history of it and how it's like really revolutionary music, not just like in its purpose, but in its organic nature and how it came about. So I invite all of you to not just dance and listen to the music, but look into the history. It's quite interesting. It's really interesting. So, and what's interesting too is that that's kind of how like I got into poetry. So in high school, I went to an all boys high school my first year. I hated it. So I was banging on my parents' door, let me out, let me out, let me out. They finally allowed me to transfer, and I transferred into a co-ed, right? So it's boys and girls in school. I'm excited, right? I'm 14 years old. This is what I want. I'm sitting in my first homeroom class. This beautiful girl walks in. Her name is Mary, right? I didn't know at the time, but this beautiful Dominican girl walks in. She sits behind me. And I go, oh my God, this is it. This is why I'm at this school, right? So I start thinking, what am I going to say to her? What am I going to say to her? Then this Haitian dude walks in named Fenord. He would go on to become a very good friend of mine, even to this day. He runs in behind me, sits next to her. He's like, yo, Mary, yo, Mary, yo, Mary. Yo, Mary, I got this poem. You need to hear it. Now, here I am. Professor Bear has introduced me as a professional poet. And as a professional poet, I'm quite embarrassed to say I don't remember what the poem was about. But I do remember her reaction. And it was at that moment that I decided, that's it. I am going to become a poet. I'm going to get all the ladies. It obviously didn't work out like that. But after September 11th, I had lost my job. It was corporate job. I was new. I was on probation being new. A lot of companies downsized. So I was easily let go. And like a lot of New Yorkers during that time, I felt this need to reclaim my city. So that is when I had found the Nuyorican Poets Cafe. And I saw Carlos Gomez performing the poem, What a Word's Worth. And I thought to myself, yo, I could talk shit too. I want to be on that stage. And that is how it happened for me. So I say all of this that for those of you who may be curious or interested in poetry, or those of you who for school that you have to write creatively, come from a selfish place. Start what you want to write about. One of our hosts here, who's been here for a long time, fantastic poet as well, named Jive Poetic, he always says that you are an expert on you. So that's what you should write about. You are an expert on you. So that's why I encourage upon you. Also, I want to give a shout out to the Phantom of the cafe is here. Loco is over here. They can't see you on right now, Loco, but Loco does a lot of work here at the cafe. I like to call him the Phantom of the cafe because he is here at all hours, making sure that this building is still standing for us. So with that being said, yes, I am a poet, so therefore I should probably share a love poem, and this is the greatest love poem that I have ever written to date. I turn acorns into bombs and play wingman at the barber. Make a motorbike out of bus seats and fly to lands that man don't bother. Slip down slides too narrow for a 6'1" body, just for the smiles I barter, all in the day's work of me hoping to become a better father. I got 1 billion yeses in reserve for when my son asks, wanna play with me? I might let him curse on the low, but he will say please and thank you graciously. Like his pops, he tends to talk a lot and he'll force you to learn how to listen patiently. But don't be alarmed if you see us walking down the street shooting imaginary laser beams. We like to do that. Every toy in the store that greets his eyes, I promise he's requesting. And I keep saying no, until he starts asking the right type of questions. Because I can't always be there to be an immediate intervention. So even in between the Millennium Falcon and Death Star, I sneak in a lesson. I'll be damned if that next Lego set is built by I. Let him throw a tantrum and huff and puff and sit and cry. Let him hold his breath, even put his own finger in his eye. I purchase said item, I'll make him earn it, and after he throws his fit, he'll try. May he learn that people only truly support those who are doing for themselves, and we are all just one lost privilege away from living in a hell. So carry a big stick, but don't knock others' hearts off their shelves. Morals emit rings and karma hears all told bells. Now, I have no idea how any of y'all in San Diego hold of a parent. The end all be all of raising a kid is not what I'm declaring. By no means am I some super dad who's ethereal seafaring. I just felt like the need for more sincere love poems was apparent. It's taken a child to make adult me feel self-conscious. Put me on the stage anywhere in the world, even on Zoom, and Professor
No. What just happened? Oh, where is he?
He muted himself. Just get him unmuted.
You're muted, advocate. You're muted. Something happened. Unmute yourself. No, unmute.
I got muted while I was spitting some truth. What happened? I promised the CIA I dropped no real truth. What's going on here?
They're coming to get you, advocate. Hide. Okay.
Good old fashioned Mercury retrograde.
Yeah. go back to the between the Death Star and
the Millennium. So between the Millennium Falcon and Death Star, sneaking the lesson. I'll be damned if that next Lego set is built by let him throw a tantrum and huff and puff and sit and cry. Let him hold his breath, even put his own finger in his eye. I'll purchase said item. I'll make him earn it. And after he throws his fit, he'll try. May he learn that we only truly support those who are doing for themselves. And we are all just one lost privilege away from living in a hell. So carry a big stick, but don't knock others' hearts off their shelves. Morals emit rings and karma hears all told bells. Now, I have no idea how any of y'all out in San Diego see the role of a parent. The end all be all of raising a kid is not what I'm declaring. By no means am I some super dad who's ethereal seafaring. I just felt like the need for more sincere love poems as a parent. It has taken a child to make adult me feel self-conscious. Put me on the stage anywhere in the world, even on Zoom where I get muted, and I promise you, I'm still thinking, I got this. I can have slang sound proper, make malleable out of the obnoxious, but being charged to be the father of heaven's favorite comes with no manual I could stick in my back pocket. I show bravery when scared and how to moon a fear behind the marble of courage. Indeed, mini-me has given me more than just the proverbial purpose. Yo, someone better tell advocate of words that someone's dissecting the validity of his verbiage. Every word, every connotation, and every action is being broken down like PETA at a circus. So in closing, if my son wants to grow up and become a hippie who will cook and bake and griddle soy, or a Nuyorican poet still unwilling to deal with his own complexes like a fickle Freud, the day he steps out from under my shadow will be one of bitter joy, because although he is destined to become a great man, he will always be my little boy. So thank you. That's my poem. It's called Letters, because I'm words. My son is letters. Wink, wink. I'm a poet. So I got one more poem that I'm going to do, and then we're going to get to the main event. Our executive director, La Bruja, and I always like to tease her. I always tell her that, like, it's so cold. She's going to be mad I'm saying it, but I'm going to say it anyway. I always tell her it's so cold in your shadow, Bruja, so cold. She is amazing. I'm excited to get to her. So of course, like, I'm programs manager here, like I said, the Nuyorican Poets Cafe. I've been a teaching artist here, a resident artist, poet, you know, all of that stuff, attending open mics, curating my own shows. But like, you know, I've been doing a lot of this stuff for a while, and that's why like La Bruja and the Nuyo gave me the nod. And one of the groups that I've been running with, which is actually the group that introduced me to La Bruja, is a group called El Grito de Poetas. It means, for those who don't know, it means like the scream of poets, the yell of poets. So since we've been doing it for like, I've been doing this for over 2 decades. I know, which is crazy, right? Because I look like I just turned 21. I appreciate all of you for thinking that. But, you know, since I've been doing this for over 2 decades, like the question that kind of get asked is, why do you still do it? So I call this poem, well, I don't call it, the group, it's a group piece. I'm gonna share my part. It's called Still Screaming. I've got a muse that never counts sheep, a pen that hears dog whispers, dog whistles, and neutrons beep. An internal clock that is anxious and dyslexic, and a hookup with a doorman at a black hole nexus. I'm deranged, I'm crazy, I'm a tormented artist. Soliloquies are more than cathartic. I'll speak in metaphors regardless of how many theaters and open mics close their doors. I'm no longer worried about being woven into the lore. I'm just saying I can't stop hooting and howling and hollering like thunder. My thoughts can't be muffled or pacified. They refuse to go unuttered. They must shout and scream and wail and bellow. They won't whisper, be reticent or low key or mellow. Giving me downers is like turning up the bass. If I can't be heard, I'll shake up the fucking place. Because the only cages kids should be in is for baseball practice. Not at a border, not in an island or a machine in the upper stratus. I think it'd be common sense for you and me to fight for freedom of speech, because one day you too may be accused of rhetoric that is a overreach. So how can I muzzle my muzzle or yip my lip when we still got so far to go to get where we get? I'm still screaming. Appreciate it. Appreciate the time. Yeah, and also, of course, you know, we're celebrating our heritage right now and bring about awareness and soaking up all the beauty of it, because it really is a rich culture. But I do want to shout out right now and recognize what the island of Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic, because I'm just finding out that, you know, Dominican Republic had gotten hit too by Fiona. So my heart and spirit with the people in Puerto Rico and those in the Dominican Republic right now dealing with it. And I also ask that, you know, I want to promote the Nuyorican Poets Cafe, and even more because right now we're working with a lot of artists in our community to start to raise funds to send to Puerto Rico. And we're looking at sending to organizations that are native to the island and are working on the island. Like, we're not gonna ask people to send anything to a big conglomerate that has a lot of overhead they got to pay for first. We have people that we know who are on the ground who are doing things. So please stay tuned with Nuyorican. We're on all the social media stuff and nuyorican.org. So if you can find out how to help. And if right now you can't help, you know, at the very least, you could spread the word about what we're doing. So Professor Bear Wolf, who I know as Propaganda Poet, if he hasn't told you his name's Propaganda Poet, you ask him about it. Nonetheless, Professor Bear, thank you for having me. Let's get to the main event, La Bruja. Oh, wait. I guess he's got a whole opening. Yeah. All right. Well, I'm shifting out of you. Go ahead, Professor Bear. It's all yours, brother.
Thank you one more time, Advocate. Advocate Wordz. I just want to say I'm going to break from the program for a quick second here and just say that it's about time I get to put you on the big screen, Advocate, because Advocate has been hosting the open mics and hybrids and all kinds of Zoom poetry for what now, 2-3 years, and that's how I got to know this community. That's how I got to know these people. And he's put me up on the big screen in the cafe. I've actually been on that stage in the cafe because of him. And I just want to say how thankful I am, brother, to have you in my life. And it's about time I get to hear your poetry too, because you never speak your poetry, man. So it's awesome that we got to hear it. Give it up one more time for Advocate Wordz. And our next speaker to the mic we got coming up is Caridad de la Luz, is a world-renowned spoken word artist known as La Bruja. She became the executive director of the Nuyorican Poets Cafe in January 2022 after beginning her career there in 1996. She was recently nominated for an Emmy for the cultural short Legacy of the Puerto Rican Poetry, which aired on ABC during the National Puerto Rican Day Parade in 2021. Those are her social media. If you want to know how to get a hold of either of them or the Nuyorican, please hit me up. I will gladly pass out that information. And again, I'm going to break from the program just for a moment here and say, La Bruja, it is so amazing to see you again. It was wonderful to see you in March when I was out there, and it's just such a gift to be bringing you to San Diego. So without further ado, give it up for La Bruja.
Woo!
Thank you so much, Professor Bear Wolf. Thank you so much. I love San Diego. I had a lovely experience in San Diego some years ago. So, you know, I was so impressed. There was no mosquitoes. So it was hot and it was it was just a lovely time. I wish I was there in the flesh, but nonetheless, luckily we have the internet to connect us this way. We are in the legendary space where I started my career, April 3rd, 1996, when I wrote my name on an open mic list to spit. It was a lunar eclipse, and the rest is history. And yeah, here we are. And I wanted to share, you know, some of my poetry.
Always turn it off.
Sorry. That's the who's that calling? Who could it be? So I wanted to share really a Nuyorican story because I am a New Yorker, but I'm also Puerto Rican. So that makes me Nuyorican. And that makes New York City, to me, Nuyorico. So it's somewhere between the Empire State and El Morro. Ven, ven, ven a Nuyorico. Bienvenidos, somos amigos. En Nuyorico, ven, ven, ven a Nuyorico. Bienvenidos, somos amigos. En Nuyorico. The palm trees are tall like the skyscrapers. The entrance says welcome over the gate. And Margarita lost her shoe bailando salsa. She threw away the other to dance descalza. Such a hard life she's after, but she smiles like a fool at Pablo in his yellow Malibu, singing Babalu after winning at Capicu. Who knew that the spirits dance mambo to hip hop, eating snowflakes in tropical pit stops? This place we forgot. The puddles of our hearts flood out in large amounts. Come drinks for all the natives. Look around, we all related. Peace and love, so underrated. Que bueno que you made it to the best place in town. From Puerto Rico all the way to the boogie down. Check the smells and sounds in the underground that you found here. And check out the sabor in every flavor. As the owner Pedro counts his pesos, giving besos is a common custom. The bus boys, you could trust them with your life. Tranquilo, it's safe at night. And if you're in the mood to view the city lights of paradise, you don't even have to go to Paris. You can go out on the Rosy Paris terrace where tropical sounds can be found. You could sit or just lounge. Que boricua down. Mi casa, su casa. Que pasa spoken here. Mi raza, su raza. Love is in the air. And nothing compares to Nuyorico. It'll make you fall in love. Bésame mucho and all of the above. You'll be greeted with kisses and hugs. La comida, la música y la cultura. Eso es la droga. That's a feet to rip the rug up. Wow. At night, the windows are covered with sudor, and every cabana is a smoky humidor, and you can recognize the scent from the door. Contraband provides the music and more, and out on the veranda, the hostess Cassandra guarantees all your needs will be served. The entertainment is superb. El vacilón is the secret password. Hey, yo, you never heard about the coquito served by Enrique, who only speaks el inglés un poquito, while Angelina cooks and cleans for a fee. Nothing here is free, to pay is to be, but the patrons and me, we get along singing songs of La Isla Bonita. Here we're all Boricua, and if you no comprendo mi lengua, it's okay, I'll speak a slow and accento Nuyorico. Whew. I don't know if they're still there. Anybody there? Oh, okay, I see a heart. Hi, KR Morrison, thank you very much. So that's my Nuyorico. That's actually a song too. If you guys have Spotify or iTunes, I do have 2 albums on there. I have Brujalicious and For Which It Stands, and Nuyorico is on Brujalicious. So, you know, right now I'm trying to give my best, but the fact that Puerto Rico is facing a hurricane here 5 years after Hurricane Maria, we never really recovered from Hurricane Maria. And I'm still waiting on word from, about my family, my grandmother in particular, who's 91 years old. And it's really troubling, and heavy on the spirit. So I just ask that, you send positive energy to Puerto Rico, and, and a little extra prayer for my abuelita. So I wanted to share some poetry that I've been developing a one-woman show called From Poor to Rico. And I just wanted to share some of these pieces with you. Puerto Rico, such sad emotion, overrun by colonization. Always the government showing, even by paper towel throwing, that the hatred is growing. The displaced are screaming, the shit waste is steaming. I'd like to try independence. I'd like to try independence. If we don't fight, just forget it. If we don't fight, just forget it. America, I'd like to be America, with policies not run by greed, a paradise free from America. But we all know they've abused our rights, fought every war that they'd go fight, and autonomy sounds just so extreme. But statehood is only a pipe dream. They don't tell the truth in America. We have been duped by America, yanked from the roots in America. We're forced to roost in America. Terrible fight in America, treated with spite in America. Read our last rights in America, left without lights in America. Terrible fight, treated with spite, left without lights. Read our last rights, America. But citizenship has been so great, as long as you're born with a right white face. At least the salons keep us content. If you wear out your afro, it's unkempt. The rent in the city is foregone. Can't even afford it in San Juan. Haven't gone home for a whole year. And now we just visit as sightseers. So that's a work in progress. Thank you. And I'll do, I guess, the signature piece that the name of of the show is called Puerto Rico. It came from this phrase, Puerto Rico, which I was doing research of Edgar Allan Poe at the time. I came up with the title in like 2014, and I was looking up all these different Poe words, because I was asked to work with Edgar Allan Poe's work. I bilingualized it, and we did a presentation that I called Puerto Rican, and we raised funds, to save his cottage, which is in the Bronx. His last living home was in the Bronx, and so we renovated his cottage, and it's where his wife, Virginia Clem, passed away, who was also his cousin. And I identify with that. My great grandparents were first cousins. But anywho, and so this is the poem. I digress. It was actually my great grandmother who taught me how to recite poetry, even though she didn't know how to read or write. She had a memory of gold, and it was my mother's mother's mother from Aguadilla, Puerto Rico, that taught me how to recite. So, Puerto Rico me llaman. I am Puerto Rico. That is what you call me. Yo me llamo Puerto Rico. If you came from me, you will go from me. You will come to me. You will grow from me. Puerto Rico, Puerto Rico, Puerto Rico, Puerto Rico. Pour to Rico. Pour to Rico. Africa, Spain, Taíno, Madre del Jibarito, defended por Albizu. I've made many sacrificios. A mí misma me critico. I have taught all of my people to turn the other cheek, though. I've been a refuge politico to the French, the Dutch, the Spanish, the English, the Catholics, the soldiers, the tourists. I've treated everyone as equal, and now there is a war against all Puerto Ricans. We are fighting an elusive creature that owns me as its paraíso. ¿Cómo me explico? ¿A qué me califico? ¿Por qué me mortifico? I am not poor, but rico. We were offered fool's gold while they robbed us of a sharehold. While nacionalistas foretold the takeover of control, we danced and fell into the American mold. We warmed ourselves with tropical memories while facing the American cold. But what is untold, we will expose. There are no more cheeks to turn. Though the hypocrisy has left us holding two faces, we've been slapped with debt we didn't earn, told to strap up our boots, but left without shoelaces, not welcome in one, but living in two places. Between here and there is no place for me. Oh, say this rape culture. Oh, say, can you see? It is always to victim blame, so the truth you won't see. And they've asked me how I let it go this far. Beneath the shirt off my back that I gave are the scars. This patriotic love of one flag, this promised freedom of one star, while there's 50 United States, and I don't want to be one more. My children since birth have been treated as whores, and what was mine, but mistaken as yours. Collectors of foreign sectors are banging down my door. The first mass exodus was in the 50s, and we're witnessing the sequel, and it's sickening. If you ask me right now what it is that I am thinking, I'm holding my people up to stop them from sinking. They would see the richness of my power if they started interlinking, and the colonial mindset would start collectively shrinking. So stand up, my children. We will always be connected por el cordón umbilical, maternal, por el ombligo. With my mangoes and my mangroves, yo los purifico. Los huracanes de Yocajú, yo los pacifico. Y las riquezas de Atabey, yo los multiplico. If you came from me, you will go from me. You will come to me. You will grow from me. Puerto Rico, Puerto Rico, Puerto Rico, Puerto Rico, pour to Rico, pour to Rico. We are not poor, but rico. We are not yours, but equal. Thank you very much. I don't know, is that my time? Is my time up? How am I doing on time?
You can do one more. You got time for one more. We'd love to hear one more. Who wants to hear one more?
I'm gonna assume you said yes because I don't see nobody.
I heard them say two more.
Well, you know, for all of you out there that, you know, are in the closet poets, I know you exist. I know, let me tell you, like during the pandemic, what saved us was that we had poetry. That's really what saved us. Really, like our mental health, like if you look outside, like I don't know if you realize, but people are losing their motherfucking minds out there. And they had no way of really channeling the trauma. And so people are walking around really, really disturbed and sick and angry. And we're just so blessed that we had poetry and we had our open mics online for that whole pandemic for those 2 years. Like we did it weekly, we got together. That was our therapy, that was our church. That was our gathering of the tribes, and it was international, and we survived together. And so I'm so grateful that that has been our connecting source, Professor Bear. And thank you so much, Professor Bear, because you were the only person that bought my album, my my 4 CD collection. So you get so much love for that.
Well, it was amazing. It was true. I listened, I have it on repeat. It's awesome.
Thank you. I mean, that shows my whole trajectory, like you got to start somewhere. That's the other thing. It's like, you got to start somewhere. And if you're an in the closet poet, it's never too soon and it's never too late. So don't debate or procrastinate. Just write it down like you just can't wait, because what you say just might be great. And even if it isn't great, it'll make you feel great because you said it and you got it out of you, So that's a healing source. And I'll close with this one. This is an oldie but goodie. Also, it's called The Pearl of the Caribbean. By the light of the moon, dusty roads we would walk as coquis sang their song, pulling strings in my heart. Guayabas, quenepas, bombas y plenas, drinking café, wearing chancletas in the kitchen with abuela, hoping that times would get more better. I respect her for holding it down so long. 5 kids, 1 crib, cocinando lechon, taught us respect, la bendición, how to ask for perdón. Mama Don, you're right, even when you're wrong. Because I'm proud to be Boricua, Taína de la Isla Bonita, Africana, Gitana, Latina, de Manatí es la Brujita. Abuelito, mami, tío, primo, my family, my people. The more days that I live, I realize we're all equal. So whatever you are into, whatever your belief, let me wave my flag without cause and beef. Because while this world is busy fighting, I'm just looking for peace. Even if you ain't Boricua, can I call you my peeps?
One more time for La Bruja.
Gracias. Thank you so much. Yay, follow me on Instagram, La Bruja NYC. For the non-Latinos, La Bruja NYC. And visit Nuyorican.org, look at everything that we've been doing. It's so exciting. I'm so happy that I have my right-hand man, advocate of Wordz. We've been doing this for decades together. And here we are now at the helm. 2 Nuyorican poets at the helm of the Nuyorican Poets Cafe. It's such an honor and a blessing to be able to live this life, like really be about it. And we truly are. We're here to uphold the culture and to bring all people together through poetry, through arts, and through love. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Bruja. And I want to reiterate what you said about poetry during the pandemic and what it did for us and how it brought us together. And I'd like to tell this story, and I hope it doesn't get old, and I hope people don't take it for granted. But 2-3 years ago, I was done with this world. Like, I was done. I was out. And because of the poetry community online and because of the support that I got, here I am today presenting you guys to San Diego, where I have this killer job. And I just released my 2nd book of poetry, and it's all because of the online poetry community and what you guys have cultivated. So, when we talk about what it's like to hear marginalized voices through poetry, it's a very real movement, and it's nothing new. This is centuries, millennia old. This goes back to slave hymns being coded so people could give messages across fields. This is haikus from millennia ago that were coded messages in poetry. And it's important to understand that this isn't just entertainment. This isn't just, we're here to sound pretty and look pretty. We're a movement, and we're doing it. And thank you for all that you do to create these spaces for us. So give it up one more time for the Nuyorican Poets Cafe.
Thank you. Woo! I like to say this is happening. Like I found myself saying that phrase like naturally. It's not even like this is really, really like the truth. I've found myself saying this is happening, and this is happening. This is happening. Stay in the moment, enjoy the moment. It's all we have, and make it happen. And this is happening. So thank you so much.
And thank you again, everyone who was patient through the technical difficulties. I told you it was going to be worth it. I told you. So we got about 15 minutes left, but I'd like to open things up both on Zoom and here in the room for any questions that you have for either Advocate or Bruja. Anything that you'd like to know about poetry, about the Nuyorican Poets Cafe, about the experience of growing up and being a poet and doing what we do. Anybody online?
Ask away, take advantage of the moment, because you may not have this opportunity again. So if you want to know something, ask that question.
Well, I'm going to start it out. So imagine where you were 10, 20 years ago and where you are now. And what is it that brought you to this place where you guys are now at the helm of the legendary Nuyorican Poets Cafe? But tell us a little bit about what that journey was like and how you got there.
Well, I got to it first because I'm older.
You look like 10 years younger than me, though.
We look like brother and sister, look.
I look like the older brother, but go ahead.
Well, I, started writing in my journal really, really young. Before I knew how to write real words, I used to do scribbling doodles in my book as a little girl. So I was born this way for sure. It was in the blood. But, the experience of having my great grandmother in an artistic family and, supported in that way, I just kept writing. And, little did I know that it would be, I don't know, nearly 20 years later that I would actually emerge as La Bruja, doing poetry in this way. But it was my childhood's best friend's brother that told me about the Nuyorican Poets Cafe. I was working at Bloomingdale's at the time, and we would get together on Friday nights. And, I had this journal. We would just get in a circle in the apartment and just read to each other. And and he was like, yo, that you should go to the Nuyorican. I was like, what? And then he told me all about it. We came here and I fell in love. I had no idea that there was actually already a culture, like a set place for this. And it changed my life. And so I came here. Like I said, there's a whole song about it, For Which It Stands, WITCH. You could, listen to it, and that's all a true story. And I started right here and changed my life.
I think, like, if I really go back to it, like it just for me, it started as a survival mechanism. Coming from a house that experienced a lot of domestic violence, I would, I don't want to get too deep into it, but like, I'd have my mother in the middle of a lie with my father so he doesn't lose his shit. And I would walk into the house and I would have to pick up what the lie was within a few seconds, because then I was going to be asked something and I'd have to corroborate it. So I had paid attention a lot to language. I think that was really my first kind of introduction into like the power of language, and it just grew from there. And then I also grew up in an area in between like the hood and where the 2 comma kids lived. When you spell out a million, there's 2 commas. So I saw how like there was different talk and like to move about in these different neighborhoods. If you had a certain speech, you could move about. So yeah, that's where it started for me. And then hormones kicked in and I tried to use it to get laid, and it wasn't working very well. It didn't work well at all in terms of using it for that. But it was after, like I said, I had mentioned earlier, after September 11th, I found the cafe and it just felt natural and organic, and things grew.
We have a question online from Finn Bell. Best advice that you got from a mentor poet that you would want to pass on to the current generation of poets?
I'm sorry, say that again.
The best advice that you got from a mentor poet that you want to pass on to this new generation of poets?
Damn. I mean, there's so much. You got one?
Well, there's no machine that could take a picture of your thoughts. So if you don't write it down, there's no way you're going to capture it. So the moment that you receive that image or that message or whatever it is, write it down. Write it down. And always check your pockets before doing your laundry in case you wrote something on a napkin or on a paper, because the enemy of paper is water. And so, you know,
there's a lot of hurt in your voice when you're saying that. So you want to tell us?
This is coming from lived experience. That's why. So yeah, that's it, and it starts there. Write it down. Like, first and foremost, like, write it down. And it feels good when you write. Like, I like the motion of it. I know that we have tablets and we have all this technology and all of that. That's all great. And you can even record yourself. Fantastic. But writing it down, it gives it a different energy.
It does. I think the best advice I ever got, it wasn't another poet that told me, but it was who I like to refer to as Bobby Ice, right? You might know him as Robert Frost, but I'm from the Bronx. I call him Bobby Ice, right? And Bobby Ice said that the ear is the best reader and writer. And I think that's true. I think that when you want to edit your poems, or you want to get a feel for a poem, like, a poem doesn't have to rhyme, but it has to have rhythm, and your ear is going to pick that up. So, and the amazing thing is, like, to piggyback off what Bruja said, when you're writing your poems down, it forces your brain to slow down as well, and to take stock of what you're saying and thinking where you're going. So, like, you should definitely write your poems down and then read them to yourself. And so before you even get to a workshop, or before you even get to ask someone else for, like, feedback, trust that your own ear will pick that up. And don't just, like, read it like, no, like, really read it out loud. Make sure you're enunciating every syllable. And I think that whatever doesn't feel right, that's where you're going to know, oh, I need to focus on here, where I should make edits, or maybe take it out or change it. So shout out to Bobby Ice. Appreciate the advice, brother.
He was, since you guys keep accusing me of being a professor, I'm going to go ahead and put my professor hat on right here real quick, and remind my students and all other students how often I say proofread out loud. Because that is how you are going to hear what is happening. So thank you, advocate, for giving me that little bit. I'm now going to cut that part of the video and put that on my syllabus. So thank you very much. But speaking of which, I do want to ask both of you, what advice would you give to students, regardless of their background, who struggle with English, who, you know, especially when they're in a composition class and they're feeling that stress of having to write academic papers and code switching between the language they know and this language that they are forced to learn in order to be seen in a positive academic light? What advice would you give them?
Fuck that. Like, I mean, listen, like learn it just because it's new information and it's how other people think, and like it's always awesome to do that. But we're talking about poetry here. Like, you should know the rules, but poets break the rules of grammar. There are words that you had to take, that there are words on tests They had to take an SAT words in order to be able to go to college that was slang in the 1800s and 1700s, right? So there were words that we are creating today that one day is going to be studied in academia, whether that's 10 years from now or like 50 years from now, 100 years from now, like, and then you look in the English dictionary, even like English dictionaries coming out of England, and how you're starting to see it's including hip hop slang from 20, 25 years ago, right? So break the rules of grammar. Don't worry about your spelling when it comes to poetry. Definitely, learn the rules of grammar. But like when it comes to your poetry and your creative writing, you can speak and speak in multiple languages, right? You know how sexy that is to write a poem in multiple languages? Do it, right? And Professor Bear alluded to it in terms of like where slang came from and how people were, speaking in code to one another. Like, don't be afraid to be specific in terms of your writing, and like there are hoods in LA and hoods in New York City, and there are some overlap, and then there's some things that are just unique to each of them. So speak that. Patrice O'Neill, y'all gotta look up, well, maybe not during school, because like an incredibly inappropriate comedian, but I love him, right? Patrice O'Neill, rest in peace. He had talked about like he just wants to find people that understand what he's saying. And with all the people in the world, he believes he can find 100,000. And if he could just get 100,000, that's it, not even millions, just 100,000 to say, I feel how you feel. And he assumes that he feels like there's more than that out there who think like he thinks. He's going to be all right. And I agree with that. Like, don't try to appeal to everyone, right? Like, find your audience. And so you got to be true to yourself, which includes the mistakes. The Nuyorican Poets Cafe, right? Me and Bruja, we will sit here all day and we can name drop of who's come here and who's rocked out and all we could do all of that. But we also know like the bread and butter of the Nuyorican Poets Cafe is like the raw, unrefined poet who's come in. And Miguel Algarin, our founder, rest in peace, felt that way too and was always big on that. Was always big, big on that. Getting new voices. Try it out, do it. So learn how other people utilize the English language, pay attention to it. But, and just for the sake of a challenge, try to write some poems how they have. But don't let that stifle your real voice. Don't come in and say, oh, well, now all these things I'm learning, I could never write the way I used to or how I feel comfortable. Nah, screw that. I'm going to start a fight. Come on, you got to answer this. I'm going to start a fight. I'm going to start a fight on it. Like, yeah.
Well, I dropped out of college. So I'm probably not the best person to... I really was like, yo, if I'm going to write all these papers, I better write something that really means something to me, not just to do it for a grade. And that was really what I did. I just started writing things that meant something to me. And, and I went through a whole shame phase of not having my degree and feeling like I wasn't enough, or feeling like I wasn't legitimate, or like that my work was not academia bound, and all of that was just not true, if you just put the work in. And I did study Shakespeare, and I did study other forms of writing, decimas and different formulas, and like, Puerto Rico and Caribbean diasporic writings and stuff. Like I did like study on my own time, not for a grade, but for transformation and for elevation purposes, for my spirit and for my mind. And, and that has all informed the work. So I would say, you're in class, you got to write those papers, do it to the best of your ability, like learn from the masters. If you can master the masters, then you can develop your own style, a lot of people want to skip that step. They don't want to learn all that stuff. And they just want to be like, yo, this is my style. It's like, no, you don't even have a style until you know of the other styles before you. So learn as much as you can. And, none of it is a waste of time. None of it is a waste.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone in the room that has any questions for our guests before we close? Anyone else online have any other questions? Thank you so much, Advocate. Thank you, Bruja. This has been amazing. I cannot thank you enough for sharing yourselves, not just your words, but yourselves with the community here at San Diego Miramar College. And I look forward to seeing y'all online soon and maybe in person. I'm coming to that poetry fest next year, man, one way or the other. I'm going to be there. Give it up one more time for the Nuyorican Poets Cafe.
Appreciate y'all. Thank you.
Oh, I'm going to go ahead and stop recording now, and then we can actually talk.
Well, we weren't